evening and welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Putnam County Legislature. I ask everybody to please stand for the pledge. Legislator Russo, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask everybody please to remain standing. I'd ask Legislator Regan to read the legislative prayer.
Thank you. As we gather here today, intent on doing good work, we seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength and to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Amen.
Amen.
I'd ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Legislator 1, District 1, Legislator Montgomery. Here. District 2, Legislator Golden.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Agnazio.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Russo.
Present.
District 5, Legislator D'Angelo.
Present.
District 6, Legislator Regan.
Present.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Legislator Crowley.
Present.
District 7, Chairman Birmingham.
Here. Next is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing February 11th, 2026 as 2-11-2-on-1 Day. I'd ask Legislator Sage to present the proclamation, please, and anyone else who might want to invite up.
I'd like to call the CEO of the United Way of Westchester County, Tom Gabriel. Welcome. Welcome to our meeting this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you do. So the proclamation is to recognize February 11th as 2-on-1 Day here in Putnam County. I have a beautiful proclamation here for the United Way. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I just do want to touch on some highlights. Everyday residents and visitors contact 211 to access the free and confidential crisis and emergency counseling, disaster assistance, food, healthcare, and insurance assistance, stable housing, and utility payment assistance, employment services, veteran services, and child care and family services. These services are, requests for these services are increasing substantially every year. Locally, 211 experienced a 5% increase in interactions across the 4 regions served compared to 2024, rising from 695,000 to 725,000 in Putnam County. 211 handled thousands of requests for financial assistance to help prevent evictions, to ensure that the continued availability of water and electricity for most vulnerable residents, as well as more than 400 calls addressing mental health needs and providing critical assistance. Now therefore be it resolved that the Putnam County Legislature and the Putnam County Executive proclaim February 11th, 2026 as 2-on-1 Day here in Putnam County. And then our esteemed CEO of the Putnam County United Way to say a few words.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for naming February 11th 2-on-1 Day in honor of the 211 helpline, which is a national product, but here in this community is operated by the United Way in Westchester and Putnam County, which serves, as the legislator said, 4 regions of New York State: Hudson Valley, Long Island, the Adirondack, and the Capital Region. But the most important part of that is the local partnerships that we enjoy, because we're not just a call center answering calls from people in need. We're your neighbors. We live in this community, we live in Westchester County, and we see the needs right around us. And the partnerships that we forged with organizations, both nonprofit and governmental entities, is what really matters. So your participation, your support for us means the world to us, and we can't thank you enough, and we look forward to continuing to serve you all as your neighbors as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 4, acceptance of minutes. Any comments from the legislators? Since this item has not been on the agenda of any committee, is there any comment from the public on the acceptance of minutes? Seeing none, there's no vote needed. We'll just enter those into the minutes. Item number 5A, County Auditor's Report. There has been no refunded tax charges this month, so we'll make that into the record. This also has not been on any committee agenda. Is there any comment from the legislature on this item? Any comment from the public on this item, which is not on the committee yet? No? Okay. It doesn't require a vote either. We just go ahead and make note of that. Item number 5B, we enter into the book of proceedings of County Executive's Veto of Resolution 388 of 2025. This is pursuant to our charter. This does not require a vote. It's something that at the next regular or special meeting after a veto, we have to enter it into our book of proceedings, and that's what this item is for. Again, this veto has not been on any committee agenda. Is there any comment from any legislators on this item? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public on this item? Sir, would you come up and please write your name down and tell them where you're from?
Yes, sir. Paul Yankee, Town of Southeast. Last year during the budget process, the legislature considered paying for outside counsel for both the majority and the minority of this body. There was never an objection at that point in time when the money was going to be spent. There was no objection from anybody from the legislature or the administration. A number of legislators lobbied that the cost for each council be equal. Once again, no objections. I saw some of the public hearing. And at the public hearing, there was not members of the public. These were political hacks who showed up to spread misinformation. They said that the money was put in sub-contingency. It was never put in sub-contingency. It's in the budget. No one ever explained the reason for the December 31st meeting. That meeting had to be held because the newspapers couldn't publish during the week of Christmas. There was an outcry about the fiscal responsibility of hiring two councils. There's no outcry when the county executive spent $52,000 to sue the legislature. Nobody screamed about that. There's no outcry when the county spent $35,000 on a witch hunt to remove our council. This body needs to remain independent. I've said it before. People didn't show up for those meetings, those two meetings in December. These are the same people who show up if you give them 20 minutes notice for a ribbon cut. This body must remain independent. There's a lack of integrity going on here, and it's glaring and remarkable. And legislative council should be for both parties. It's in the budget, and I hope you guys move forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public have any comment? Okay, again, this does not require a vote, it's just put into our book of proceedings. We're now going to move to pre-filed resolutions. We're going to start with the Protective Services Committee. Chairman Reed.
Let's read the resolution.
Yes, you'll read the caption and then move it on behalf of the committee, please.
Okay, coming out of the Authority Committee for Protective Services, I'm submitting for approval confirmation of the appointment of Commissioner of Bureau of Emergency Services. Should I continue with the rest of it?
That's fine. No, it's not necessary to read the entire.
Okay.
You
I go to resolve?
Yes, you can go to the resolve.
I'll go to resolve in this statement. Resolved that the legislature hereby confirms the appointment of James Oster as the Commissioner of Bureau of Emergency Services for the County of Putnam, pursuant to Article 12, Section 12.20 of the Putnam County Charter, and be it further resolved that this appointment shall comply with the requirements to file an oath pursuant to New York State Public Officers Law.
Is there any discussion?
A comment.
Sure, Legislator Adnizio.
I just want to say that his career reflects a steadfast commitment to public safety, and in recognition of his extensive experience and proven dedication to service, I am proud to support his appointment as Commissioner of Emergency Services. I'm also proud to say that he's from Kent.
Any other comment from legislator?
Yeah, I just wanted to just state the same. I'm pleased to support the confirmation of James Oster as Commissioner of the Bureau of Emergency Services. I had the opportunity to meet with him, and after meeting with Mr. Oster, I was impressed by his hands-on approach. He had gone out on several calls, and I think that that shows during the emergency situations in Putnam County, it shows the boots on the ground, what true leadership looks like. He's a leader who leads by example and demonstrates a clear commitment to prioritizing public safety. He takes with him more than 20 years of public safety leadership experience. He brings valuable expertise to this role, and I'm confident under his leadership, the safety and security of Putnam County residents will be served.
Thank you. Any other legislator have any comments? Legislator Montgomery.
I wanted to welcome Interim Commissioner Oster again. We were together today at a press conference regarding the community paramedic program that was launched in November. But we had a wonderful meeting with the head of Empress and Putnam Hospital and our director of EMS. But what Jim's approach is very local, and that's what I noticed most significantly about him. As a firefighter, an EMT, a law enforcement leader, I like his community approach. We talked about many of the things that have been plaguing EMS for decades, not only in this county, but across the country, and we're both resolved to fix that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Any other legislator? I would just like to echo all of my colleagues' comments on Mr. Oster. I think he's going to serve Putnam County well, not only from his past experience, bringing it to the value of Putnam County's residents, but also the fact that he does have his feet on the ground when it comes to Putnam, having grown up here. And he had a little bit of a trial by fire a week and a half ago, if we recall, with the big snowstorm. And of course, he, along with a lot of his staff, put in many, many hours for that. And on top of that, his dad served on this legislature for about 7 or 8 years back in the early 90s. So his family has a long history in public service as well. So I'd like to echo my colleagues' comments on that. Seeing no further discussion, I'll ask, I'm sorry, no public had it in the committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 6B.
Next item up is approval match grant application for the Bureau of Emergency Services, New York State Homeland Security and Emergency Services combined fiscal year 2024, 2025, and 2026 Emergency Services IP Network Readiness Grant Program. Having satisfied the recommendations of the Protective Services Committee, bringing it forward to the full legislature here with recommendation for approval of this motion.
Great. Any discussion? Legislator Adamizio.
I just want to mention that this is a no match grant.
I just want to.
Of course. Of course.
I love projects like this. This is, something that will strengthen our fiber optic system, carrying emergency calls, making the system faster, more reliable, and more resilient, especially during storms. And I love that the Bureau is continuing to seek out grants like this to, help Putnam County.
Any other legislator? Seeing no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 6C.
Next item up is approval for budgetary amendment 26A005, Sheriff's Office donation from the Matthew Marks Charitable Trust. Having satisfied the inquiries and requirements of the Protective Services Committee, I recommend the full legislature approve this budgetary amendment.
Any discussion? Just one comment from me. I'd like to thank the Matthew Marks Charitable Trust for this. It's a kind donation to the county. Seeing no other comment, I'll ask all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you to the Protective Services Committee and Chairman Reading. Next, we're going to go to the Audit Admin Committee, Chairwoman Crowley.
On behalf of myself, Legislators Regan, Russo, I would like to bring forward item 6D, the approval of budgetary amendment 25A 125 Finance Year-End Journal Entry Number 2. This will be one of two as per the Commissioner. It was discussed in the Audit Committee, and you can look through it and review it. There's zero fiscal impact, just kind of checking over the bills and straightening some housekeeping out.
Any comment from any of my colleagues? Legislator Sage.
I think these are the year-end tying up of the books, and I think there may be more once they get further bills coming into the county to close it all. Close it all the budget items. So I think we might probably see
One or two, he said, this is the first.
Any other comment? Yeah, this is something that's usual, and as a matter of course, each year at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, for the previous year, we just go ahead and assign different funds where the actual expenses occurred. It's a good way to keep our financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Any other discussion from my colleagues? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye. Item 6E is the approval for budgetary amendment 25A 126 Finance Department account for American Rescue Plan Act ARPA. Again, this was discussed in audit, and it was the appropriations that we've used so far.
Any discussion from my colleagues? All in favor? Aye.
Item 6F is the approval budgetary transfer of 26A001, Department of Mental Health, Social Services, and Youth Bureau, amend 2026 DSS budget to include Putnam County Safe Harbor allocation in the amount of $16,949. There is zero fiscal impact in 2026 or 2027.
Great. Any discussion?
I just want to make a note that this is a major cut to what we usually get in these funds. And I have the number, and I don't have it right now. But I don't know if we remember from the committee meeting what the cut was, but it's a significant amount that's been cut from this wonderful, much needed, very sadly that we needed program.
Indeed. Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye. Item 6G is the approval of budgetary amendment 26A002, Department of Mental Health, Social Services, and Youth Bureau adjusted state aid levels. This is going to be in the amount of no fiscal impact, and it's going to be the amount of $9,410 is going to be increased appropriations.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
6H is the approval of budgetary amendment 26A003, Sheriff's Office reallocate positions in the Sheriff's Department. This was just changing and reclassifying some people that have moved around in different departments. And it was explained in both protective and audit last month. And we are looking at, again, just the movement of different positions, and there's going to be a fiscal impact of $115,300 in 2026, and the same for 2027.
Was it this one?
Oh, sorry, yes, next one, I apologize. I'm sorry, 17,000 and zero fiscal impact this one. Hold on, sorry about that.
No problem. Any discussion?
Just, as the chair probably said, zero fiscal impact in 26 and 27, and $17,535 is going back into the vacancy control factor. That is a savings, and it will probably be used to cover some overtime, so it is a savings to taxpayers at this time. And I commend the Harbour sheriff to move his staff around the way he sees fit, you know, to get his department in the order that he sees fit, since he's an elected official, so I'm happy to support this.
Any other comments? Legislator Russo.
I'd like to echo, proud of the sheriff for making some smart changes, saving us some money, and keeping us safe. So thank you, Sheriff.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye. Item 6I is the approval of budgetary transfer 26T002, Commissioner of Finance, funding social services admin caseworker position inadvertently omitted from the 2026 budget. This was the, this was the one that I pulled up at $115,300, and the fiscal impact will be the same for both 2026 and 2027. So just correcting the books.
Any discussion? In a budget, in almost $250 million budget in over 20,000 budget lines, it's almost inevitable that we're going to get something so out of early. I think that's what this is. It's not anything that is a big deal. It's certainly something that's needed. We're talking about a caseworker here, and to the extent it was an oversight, it's certainly something that's inadvertent. So I'm going to be voting in favor of this. Any other comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye. Item 6J is the approval of the write-off of delinquent real property taxes, Town of Southeast, Commissioner of Finance. This is for parcel number 67.12-1-37 and 67.16-1-34 and 67.12-1-37.
Great. Any discussion? This comes up rarely, but it is a rare case where we have to do this. According to the recitals, the legislature has determined that there's no practical method to enforce the collection of this delinquent tax lien. And we're talking about an amount of, just on the record, how much was that, Michelle? Oh, it's actually the resolution. It's not. It's enrolled in section 8, which makes it wholly exempt, so that's why there's no taxes that are coming along. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Over item 6A, the approval of correction of real property taxes to the Town of Carmel, Commissioner of Finance, similar to what we just did. The tax map parcel 44.14-2-1, and it's the same situation.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. 6L is the approval of authorizing the filing of an application for state assistance from the Household Hazardous Waste State Assistance Program and signing of the associated state master grant contract under the appropriate laws of New York State. So every year we do this. This is a great program, and we have time to file this so that we get reimbursed by the state, and that's why this needs to be put on creatively.
Sure. Any discussion? Legislator Sage.
I mean, I just wanted, some public may not know what the hazardous waste program is. The household hazardous waste disposal is for such things as paint, batteries, cleaners, and pesticides. It prevents toxic chemicals from contaminating soil and groundwater and protects public health. It reduces fire risks. It keeps potentially toxic chemicals from seeping into our environment, and something that's greatly important in any municipality. Putnam County hosts 2 household hazardous waste drop-off days each year. Typically, in the first few weekends, they'll pick one in May, and they'll do one of the first few weekends in October. The first one in 2026 is scheduled to early spring. I would encourage everyone, when they start their spring cleanup, to take advantage of this program and help protect our environment. Information will be available at the Putnam County Health Department website when the dates are set up for spring. And this is something that homeowners need to sign up for in advance, because you have to sign up. Everyone, if they have a long line, will have room for everybody, so you have to get on sign on. Anyway, that's all. I'm certainly in favor of this.
Great. Any other comments from the legislator? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Legislator Crowley. That concludes the audit agenda. We have one item under other business, item 7A, approval appointment to the Budget and Finance Committee, representative to the Capital Projects Committee. As we all know, the Capital Projects Committee is a countywide committee that discusses during the budget season various capital projects which may or may not be needed for construction or reconstruction. This legislature has 3 members on that committee, myself as chair, a minority member, as well as the chair of the Fiscal Services Committee. This is usually, well, it's always actually an item under our reorganization meeting, which we held last month. However, at that point, the committees were not appointed. And since that time, the chair of the Fiscal Services Committee has been appointed, which is a statutory member of that committee, and that's Legislator Bill Goldman. So resolved that Legislator William Goldman be appointed as the Budget and Finance Committee representative to the county's Capital Projects Committee for a period of 1 year, said term to expire December 31st, 2026. Since this was not pre-filed, I would imagine we need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Bill, do you take on the job? Thumbs up, good. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is recognition of public on any agenda item. This is a period in our full meeting where we ask the public if they have any discussion on an agenda item that's been discussed at this meeting tonight. If there are, we kindly ask you to come to the podium, state your name and what town you live in, and state what item on the agenda you'd like to speak to so that we can get to the item so we can have it in front of us. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak on any item? Seeing none, we will move on to recognition of legislators, item number 9. And unusually for this, we do have one item that we'd like to talk about. It's a holdover or a reopening or discussion of our resolution number 5 of 2026. If you recall that resolution we adopted, like we always do at our reorg meeting, to schedule our regular meetings, each monthly meeting. And there was an amendment that was approved unanimously to try and have some uniformity and regularity with respect to our committee meetings, which happen during the month. They're not regular meetings, but they are committee meetings. And I know there's been a lot of, all of the chairs of the committees have discussed with their committee members when they'd like to have the committee assignments or the committee meetings happen during the time of the month. So this is really just an open forum for us to discuss that in public. If there's any, well, I'm the chair of a committee, I'm chair of the budget committee. I think it's pretty clear the budget committee, we just meet generally around budget time. We meet twice at least, once in October, or actually once in June to send the decentralized budget resolution down to the county executive, then twice in October to accept the tentative budget, and then of course to vote on the legislative budget. So we'll certainly have those regular meetings. There's only 3 of them. But certainly if there's anything that comes up with respect to any countywide budgetary matter, I'd like to reserve the right to call a budget meeting should that be necessary. I know there's been a lot of talk recently, myself probably being the loudest, about fund balance, and maybe that might be an opportune time to talk about that at a irregularly scheduled budget meeting, but I'll of course give at least a month advance notice to my colleagues on that, and of course the public. Would any other chair of a committee like to discuss their thoughts on their own committee when they'd like to meet? Legislator Crowley and Legislator Sage.
I obviously can't really move mine around very much. It's pretty standard unless it falls on a holiday, which then I'd like to push it back to the Thursday prior to, which I know I've discussed with you, Chairman Birmingham. So obviously, due to our charter and many other reasons, I have to do it on the last Monday. So that will be staying the same, and obviously everybody who's on that committee knows that that is a standing meeting, so I can't really do much there, but I can hold strong on that.
Okay.
So the public will know what it is.
A definite maybe. Good. Legislator Sage.
Well, I guess I'm just confused by this item, and I know our purpose is to pick meetings for the future of this year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, according to the legislative manual. Because it was
Yes.
stated pretty clearly in the legislative manual. That was my point, is that the chair of each committee, upon being appointed to that committee, would gather their members and pick a day that would work for them. For example, the first Thursday or the first Wednesday at 10 o'clock or 6:30 throughout the year, and then stick to that date. And then going forward, we have an idea of where we'll be scheduling all of those committees. For example, I'm the chair of the Rules Committee, so the Rules Committee will be on one of those stated dates. Is that correct?
Yeah, generally, my impression of the amendment we made to this resolution last month was to echo and kind of, not codify, because this isn't in the code book, but to perhaps draw stronger attention
Yeah.
to that portion of our manual that does require us to, in a general way, have each committee meeting held on a certain day of the month, or a certain week of the month at least. I gotta tell you, as chairman of rules last year, I probably abused that and disregarded it more than any of my other fellow chairs. It was a busy year with respect to the rules committee, and so, that was probably honored more in the breach than it was in the positive, and I'll plead guilty to that. And I think this might be an effort to try and maybe hone us more closely to what the manual requires. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing not only for us and our schedules, but certainly for the public. I think, Bill, you made a comment last month, that town boards meet regularly. I know the 3 municipalities I represent, they always have their meetings on a regular day. The public can get used to going to those meetings. Obviously, this meeting is always the first Tuesday of the month, but of course, we have 8 other committees that meet throughout the month. So I think it's a good effort to try and at least get us back on track. And again, I'll plead guilty to perhaps being the one that abused it towards last year. But I think that's the spirit of what this was intended to do. And I think it's a good thing, again, not only for us, but for our constituents to have that regularity. Having said all of that, just so the public knows, generally speaking, our monthly meetings for committees are always set by the end of the previous month. I know our staff is relentless in speaking with the committee chairs to see when they're going to have it that month, and to have the agenda pretty much set up at least a week before. Our manual has to be 5 days before, but to have the committee at least scheduled by the last day of the month prior. So to that, I think we've been holding it steady. But again, I think it's more just putting for instance, the rules committee on the second Wednesday or whatever for regularity. Erin had a hand-up person in the meeting.
I also wanted to just bring to the attention of trying to couple certain things. So I know Legislator Montgomery brought up a point that she was going to try and couple the 2 that she was on and had spoken to different members, and that was the idea, was to also, couple meetings that, our department heads had more continuity and weren't here, 3 nights a week. They could get things done and know when they were going to be and plan and have some sense of life outside of work too. And I think that drives for a better work environment when you give them more flexibility and they can plan.
Agreed. Legislative Sage and then Legislator Montgomery.
I would like to make a recommendation that we have maybe the committee chairs submit something to the rules committee, possibly their general calendar dates. Maybe that's something we can discuss publicly at the rules committee and have something set. For example, the rules committee will schedule the meetings on, as I said before, the second Tuesday, or fiscal services would like the third Thursday, or whatever it is. And along those lines, I'd also, as Legislator Crowley just said, I'd like to advise that committees with some of the same members, my couple, will have 2 meetings per night. I wouldn't suggest having more than that because it can get really long. And then we've got our department heads and our employees who are here till all hours of the night. We've been here probably since 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be here till 10 o'clock at night. It's not fair to them. So I think scheduling more than 2 meetings, I think, would be disingenuous to our staff and department heads and the public. They're not going to stay out that late. Anyway, that's all.
On that point, and I know you didn't mean it like this, I wouldn't want the Rules Committee to in any way approve or disapprove.
No, not approve or disapprove.
Okay, because each
Discuss
committee is
it public meeting, absolutely not.
on their own.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I know you didn't mean that. I just
Yeah,
wanted-
that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
But thanks for bringing that up.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, I want to just be clear what we're doing here. Are we codifying and formalizing the calendar as that's what we're going to adhere to? Because as I said in the memo I sent earlier this month, I made every attempt to put the 2 meetings that I'm on those committees together, but because of schedules from other committee members and the way they felt, it was impossible. So I was flexible in, I wanted them at a specific date because the 2 meetings could have gone together, but because other committee members couldn't do that, now they're falling on 2 different dates. So what I do know from looking at the meetings over the past 3 years, we have pretty much stayed consistent with how the meetings are standardized and, kind of sticking to the legislative manual that somewhat codifies it, but it's, it's not in the code. It encourages consistency. So in the first attempt to do this, it was impossible. So moving forward, are you looking for me to pick a specific date to stick to throughout the year for the health committee meeting as it coincides with the attendance? Because if that's the case, then some committee members aren't going to be able to make the meeting that I choose.
I think, and it's just 1 out of 9 here, I think the first consideration should be, will all committee members be available on a certain night? And to the extent that one or more of those committee members might, the second consideration would be, to the extent one or more of those committee members might be on another committee, maybe that committee could couple with that same committee that night. But I think the first threshold would be to make sure that each and every committee member can make a certain night. And if we wind up having, and again, I think this is the beauty of our manual, it allows us the flexibility. But if we wind up having just one committee, I'm just going to say the health committee, so it's on a Wednesday and that's the second week of the month. If that's the only time your members can meet and no other committee can meet that night, I think that's what we have to do. And generally speaking, we all pretty much go to all the committees anyway, with rare exceptions. And again, there's going to be holidays. There's one committee last year that I think met on the third Thursday. But of course, that's Thanksgiving in November. So again, I think, and this was Legislator Crowley's intention in amending this last month, is that we really should cue back into following the manual. And I guess to a large extent we have over the last couple of years, but just keep us mindful of that. And keeping in mind too, there might be special meetings that need to arise. There might even be messages of necessity from the county executive that might require committee action outside of the regular schedule. And so to a certain extent, we're going to have to roll with the punches. But to answer your question directly, I think the first primary object would be to make sure each committee member can go to whatever the health committee. Just use yours.
That's a priority, but also a priority is making sure those, committee meetings that we fall on are happening on the same day, only because also in consideration for the department heads who work together. There are different departments that those department heads do work together, and I think it's very important. For example, I feel like it's important to have the health committee and the protective meeting happen on the same night. That didn't happen for some reason in February. I'm not sure why, but so moving forward, I would like that to happen. Can that happen on the second Wednesday of the month? And was there a reason why this time it couldn't happen?
Can I answer that? Sure. Mr. Chair, that particular protective meeting was scheduled out of the norm of the protective services scheduling slot due to the appointment of Commissioner Oster. We were.
No, she's talking about the February meeting.
I'm talking about
going to be having.
Oh, okay.
So you're meeting Tuesday, for example, I'm meeting, the health committee's meeting Wednesday. It would be great if the health committee meeting and the protective meeting could both meet on the same day.
Oh, okay. All right.
My health committee, all the members can't necessarily, it's not super convenient for them to all meet on a Tuesday and then be able to make it for the second meeting on a Tuesday. So that's why I picked the Wednesday.
I would submit to you, just so you know, because I was just asked, what would your preference be? And I picked with absolutely, no veracity whatsoever, and having no seniority here and not understanding how this is going to work out. I was asked, and I threw it up there, but I'm not saying that myself or recognize that is not
So you
that
would
day.
be okay with Wednesdays even?
I listened to the discussion here, and also based on my observations of coming to all the committee meetings as I did last year, so I have to say, to all of your credit, I saw all of you there all of the time. So I see us twisting ourselves into a pretzel to try and group up, but you guys were always there anyway. So on this, like what you said, I think our priority should be the consideration of the other employees that do come in at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And our staff that has to be here for hours. So that should be maybe more in consideration than us. And I'm completely open to the idea of somebody building a framework that has a calendar that, and if we bring it to rules, whatever the case may be, but let's put together, whether we have AI come up with it or somebody else, let's plug it out there so that we can so that we can say, yes, this works, or that doesn't. But
Chair.
Could I just might have a helpful suggestion? Would it be okay if the two of you talk about finding a mutual day?
Wednesday.
Finding a Wednesday, a second Wednesday of the month?
Well,
is there a subsequent, I'm sorry, Joe, is there a subsequent consideration? Because like you said, you want to group those two, and I'm not opposed to it, but without looking at the next 5 yards down the field, am I thereby pushing something else out of the way?
Not for me and not for the other health committee members.
Okay?
So it's good to have it on that Wednesday. And then they can attend the protective meeting as well.
And so maybe a conversation should be had with your protective committee members as well, and I know you're on that as well, but also Tony is as well.
So Wednesday.
Well, I don't want you to.
That,
Okay, all right.
that works, yeah.
All right, it sounds like, do I hear Thursday?
No.
Okay.
Wednesday, it's like Wednesday now.
Um,
No weekends on either side, Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Saturday, 2 in the morning. Legislature Goldman and Legislator Russo.
I like what Legislator Regan said. We should try to accommodate the staff in throughout the county. Having meetings later in the day really might not be the best thing. We should consider having meetings earlier, starting at possibly 4:30 or 5 o'clock. We broke that rule basically December 31st, so we can have meetings earlier. I don't really see an issue with that. It was mentioned at the last meeting that it's about holidays, so we can work it. So why not have a meeting at 4:30 or 5 o'clock? And then we can fit 4 meetings into an evening. Would make it very helpful to everybody and to the people who work for us. We don't need a structure.
No?
We don't need a structure.
That's
This is structure. We know, every Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month, we have a full legislative meeting. We should know the third Thursday of the month, we have whatever meeting. Or the second Wednesday, we have another meeting. If we know in advance, we can plan our schedules.
Indeed. Legislator Russo and Legislator D'Angelo.
so I want to say that I attended almost every committee meeting last year, and I didn't meet 2 meetings, and I was highly criticized for it. I do have a full-time job, and it affected that. So I apologize to all my constituents and my fellow coworkers. I guess I'm lucky enough that I'm on 4 committees this year, so I need to make sure that it works for my schedule, because as I did last year, I attended as many as I could. So this might be out, where we have to work on this outside of this meeting to accommodate everybody. But if I'm on a committee and I can't make it that day, I'm failing my constituents and my coworkers, and I want to try to make that work. So we did start organizing some of them, and Wednesday worked for the health committee, and then I planned the eco meeting that night if it happens. But then protective's going to go there. So I think we just need to sit down, make a chart, and see what works for everybody, including the employees that have to come.
This is the season to pick boxes, don't forget.
I know.
So yes, we'll do
We
some
have a few
boxes.
more
We'll do
days.
some boxes. Exactly. Legislator D'Angelo.
Yeah, I just have to agree with Legislator Goldman. 4:30 in the afternoon, I think, is a pretty decent time to start. We're not talking about 1:30 in the afternoon, and that seemed to have worked for some people, but this isn't like an after-school club. This is a job. This is the county legislature, and we shouldn't have to try to make accommodations to do a job that we are getting paid a pretty penny to do, all things considered. So I certainly think that everybody's going to have to work together and maybe come up with an agreement that we can maybe try to start a little earlier, stagger more committees in a day. Kind of helps, like you guys mentioned, the department heads who are here all day anyway, we're not waiting around until 6 o'clock. And also in the best interest of public participation for there not to be 6 meetings a month, right? So that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Any other legislator have any comments? So I think Legislator Russo said it best. I think maybe the committee chairs, work it out. It sounds like we had a little Wednesday agreement here, but again, you know, whatever you guys want. Maybe not, I don't know.
Not just for the Good Friday agreement, I'm sorry.
Good Friday agreement, no, that's Irish.
But on the question, are we moving at the speed of government here? Are we building a framework that we can, are we gonna set a date today that we can look at a framework that we can all then look at, and like you said, Laura and I can say that works, or that it doesn't, maybe we gotta move the times.
I still think we have to operate within the bounds of the legislative manual, which was adopted by resolution. So if we're to change any of the language in there, that would have to be a resolution. You know, to adopt a resolution saying, you know, rules meets on the second Tuesday of every month. If we were to do that, I think that would supersede, and I don't think you're asking that.
No.
But what you're saying though is, I believe, it's to set up a framework where, in this instance, the Chair of Health and Chair of Protective, since there's a mutuality not only of members but also maybe of interest, to come up with a day where those two committees can meet on the same day.
And if it would help move things along, I'm specifically not saying the verbiage that says every Wednesday, but if we have 10 pieces, we're down to 10 pieces of paper now, and we fill in those boxes, and then we're able to flip through it, we can look at it collectively, and we can see if it works for Russo and Regan, Montgomery and Regan. Like if we had 10 pages in the calendar, not so much codifying it with verbiage, and it has to be that Wednesday, because then we can have those holidays plugged there, but we're down to 10 pages now, let's try. I would like some progress, like I said, but we're moving at the speed of government here.
Yeah.
If we get into April, we're still talking about this.
Hopefully. I would encourage all committee chairs to reach out to each other and just see what works. And again, keeping in mind, you know, maybe 3 meetings a night might be too much, but if we start a little earlier, maybe it's not so much. Starting a little earlier might, and we are live streaming all the time too, so that's an added advantage. But the other side of the coin to that is some people like to come out and speak at these meetings too. So if we have them too early for some of our constituents who work, you know, 9 to 5, that may prohibit, you know, people from participating, you know, at the meeting as opposed to just watching it. But I'm up for anything, and I think this is a good discussion. I think we should continue to have it, but have it end soon, as Tommy says. I don't want us to be here in April talking about it. Legislator Crowley.
I mean, most of us, like you said, we'll be making most of the meetings, and we're all pretty good about it, but it is reflected in our charter that we should try to do the best we can. And to that point, you know, most of us come to audit, so if we wanted to do another meeting before audit, we could also do that. We don't usually do it, it's usually just a standalone, but we could do that, and we're all there anyway, so. And most of our department heads come to that one too. So that's another one that we could couple, which might be easy, just a suggestion.
No, that's a fair point. That's a good one. Any other legislator have any comments on this? Yeah, sure.
Just like the symbiotic relationship you guys have with protective and health, I think I'd like to have that with our Fiscal Services Committee. We have similar members, and I know Legislator Woolman and I are both on similar committees, so those two might be good on the same night. We should put it out there for discussion, maybe a future date or we schedule quite a general talk to the
After the meeting tonight, you know,
Yeah.
or tomorrow. Sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Think that one out. I just want to put it out there.
Any other discussion on this item? And, yeah,
I have
sure.
a question. How come, this is probably for Diane, why have we never had another meeting for audit? We've never had 2 meetings. We have audit and specifically audit. Is there a reason for
There
that?
has been times where we have had
Yes.
meetings
That's it.
coupled with audit, but as a rule, we haven't because it just gives time for preparation for the committees who are looking at financial items to vote on it and then have it on the agenda for audit. So let's say you have physical with audit and they have a money item on there. Traditionally, we wouldn't put it on audit because we don't know if it got passed out of the committee. So that's why I've always tried to keep a distance. But I mean, I guess we could.
We did it last month, sorry, through the chair, we did it last month with protective, we've done it before, so I'm just saying, it's something we could do, we could always just take it off, if we need to take it off, it's
Yeah.
simple. Remove it from the agenda because it didn't pass, or, you know, it's very easy.
It, generally, we always look backwards. You know, this is our first Tuesday. We always have this meeting. According to our manual, no legislative committee can meet within 7 days of tonight. So therefore, that's why audit's always the last Monday of the previous month. And then as Diane was saying, there's a lot of buildup to audit in the sense that, not much of, but a lot of what some committees deal with are not only policy, but also budgetary. Obviously, physical has a lot of budget in it, rules not so much. But for those committees that do have a budgetary aspect to them, even though their policy remit and the policy portfolio might not be fiscal completely, it just gives a way to build up, to have something that's come out of the committee of a financial nature get finally approved and pre-filed by audit. So that's kind of, to answer Tony's question, it's kind of why we generally avoid that, but we don't have to. Like this month, we had protective and audit on the same night. And there were some fiscal items in audit, excuse me, in protective that went through. Bill, I see you, Hannah.
Yes, it wouldn't be, for me personally, it wouldn't be that much of an issue if I knew more than 7 days before a meeting. I do, for March's schedule, I'm having March's schedule set up by February 14th. So I need to know for myself what I'm doing in March. So if we figure out, okay, I've already planned my schedule for March on the 14th, and on the 22nd, we decided we have this meeting, this meeting, this meeting. Many months it screws me up. Ask some of the staff that we have working for us. I'm juggling things, trying to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. So it's not fair to me, and if it's not fair to me, it's not fair to a lot of other people. So if we do it, 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the month, maybe that might be more beneficial. But doing it at the last minute is really horrible. And we did February schedule when?
But if I can respond to that, what I finally learned after 7 years is I think, for the most part, the committee chairs know well in advance when those meetings are going to be. We don't find out. I've not been on a committee, so I would never find out when those meetings were until the last week of the month before. So I think we can agree as committee chairs to, even before that calendar is published, maybe to send a courtesy email to everybody when we know, and we're going to know it's going to be pretty much codified. It's pretty much normalized. It has been for years. Just send a note out to each legislator saying, hey, the health committee is going to be February 11th. I knew a couple of weeks ago that would be the date. It's just, we've never done that, but I believe that, right, the legislators pretty much knew well in advance, a month in advance at least, when their committee meeting was going to be. We just didn't, at least I didn't know until it was published.
Which was
Through
the chair.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you got a question.
Okay, no, just to what you just said, that's not true though, because every month we would have a different day. So like Diane, they would call and say, okay, we have, do you want it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this week, or next week? So, and I think, to do this is very good that we're trying to, have a set schedule, but things will come up, and we also have to be flexible.
Yeah.
In that people go on vacation, and there's certain things. So 1 month, maybe you're gonna say, oh, I can't do it on the second Tuesday. It's gonna have to be the third Tuesday, or, So I do think, I don't want something like set in stone that we're coming against a rule that we set. Do you know what I'm saying? It can't be that rigid.
It's got to be some flexibility.
I've been on for 12 years. We've never had a problem. We've always, everyone's going to their all the meetings. But to
But
say
the
that,
unknown is a problem.
it is, no, I'm saying, maybe we should do 3 months ahead. Like those 3 months will definitely know. Do you know what I'm saying?
I agree. To all of your points, I think an added benefit to regularizing the schedules of these meetings is oftentimes, not oftentimes, but sometimes, Diane can attest to this, we get some departmental requests coming at the end of the month after the requisite committee is met. And what happens is, generally, it's the chair of the legislature that says, okay, if the audit committee chair wants to have it on, then we'll put it on audit, even if it's not a fiscal item, just because it happens to be the last meeting before the first Tuesday. I'm going to be kind of draconian in this, and I was 20 years ago when I was chair. Certainly there's, just like we need flexibility, certainly the administration is entitled to that flexibility as well. If there's a necessity of something that county exec in our rules has a right to ask for a message of necessity, and we'll get something before committee. But other than those rare instances, I think, and Diane, you can blame me when the when the department heads ask for something a little late, unless somebody's hair is on fire. Let's try and stick to and again, I think regularizing our committee meetings is fair to them as well, our department heads, so I think that would be kill two birds with one stone. Great. We're still on the recognition of legislators. Anything other than that anybody like to talk about? Legislator Montgomery.
I didn't want to start the meeting with this, but I would like to speak to the local law that was vetoed. So that's my legislative comment, and if I may. The local law was never about funding. It was that funding issue was settled a long time ago. It was about codifying the tools the legislature needs to function independently, regardless of who holds power. So calling the veto a checks and balances is totally inaccurate. It's rewriting history. Lots of claims in that public hearing. There was a claim by legislators Rowley, Crusoe, and D'Angelo that the law will add $150,000 in new costs. And I'd like to correct that comment by saying the funding for majority and minority council was already adopted unanimously in the 2026 budget, including by their own votes, with the exception of, at the time, legislator-elect D'Angelo. But it did include a unanimous vote that included legislator Goldman. So the law that was before us changed the structure and not appropriations. So here's what was said, and here's what actually happened throughout the whole process. Lots of claims by elected officials brought in from towns by our own legislators that this law creates new spending, repeated multiple times by legislators and speakers. But the reality of the record was the funding was already adopted in the 2026 budget. The other comments were about how this was rushed with no process or transparency. Repeated, it was, as we stated, I stated, it was discussed across 6 meetings, but as I prepared this today, it was actually discussed starting September 2nd. And every legislator, candidate D'Angelo at the time, had access to all that information of what was proposed on September 2nd. And there was another meeting on September 15th where legislator Birmingham laid out what the discussions were going to be. And during that time, I got support from legislator Goldman and legislator Crowley, reflecting on that time, when our legislative council was clearly not working with the minority leader, was evidently working against me. So there's a need for minority counsel. So another comment during that public hearing, funds only exist if this law passes. That's a very incorrect statement. The money already is enacted, it's signed into law, and it's available regardless of the veto. So the law didn't trigger spending, the budget did, which y'all voted for. Another comment, larger counties don't do this. That's a very misleading and selective by comparison. Many jurisdictions separate legislative counsel from executive legal control. And that's what this law did. It separated our legislative counsel in many different ways from legal control by the county executive. The structure varies in many different counties. The principle of independence doesn't vary in this law that we were putting forward. We had a guest speaker, Nicholas Fannin, who said it's expanding government. I think Legislator Crowley referred to that, codifying allocation. It risks duplication and expenses. That's not a fact. The local law does not spend any money. It does not appropriate any money. And the appropriations occur through the budget, which we unanimously approved, as did the county executive. Can't touch the legislature's budget, can veto the budget. The county has long functioned effectively with a single legislative attorney. I forget which legislator stated that. that's really funny. Whether something, and not only is it funny, but whether something functions, that's very subjective. The question is independence and separation of powers, whether the legislative branch has dedicated legal capacity that's not covered by the executive appointee. This budget, this charter change occurred around holidays and has the appearance of rushing. Meetings were noticed and held in public. The record reflects multiple meetings where this was discussed. A holiday schedule may be inconvenient, but notice public meetings are not secret, as was implied that this process was. Conversations back there are secret. Tax dollars should go toward essential services. No one disputes prioritizing essential services here. The fact is that the local law itself doesn't appropriate dollars. The budget does. We had a guest speaker, Frank Lombardi. This bill will add another minimum $100,000. This is inaccurate. The local law does not appropriate $100,000 or any amount. The budget is where the dollars are appropriated. We are not Congress. We're not New York State Assembly and Senate. We're a body of 9. That was another statement. Size alone doesn't eliminate the need for independent legal capacity. Separation of powers isn't reserved for large legislatures. It's a constitutional governance principle. Someone stated at the public hearing, we should work together. Council should write for entire legislature. Legislative council advises on legality. They draft procedures. They do not replace deliberation or voting. A unified body still needs council that is independent of the county executive. And as we saw play out in 2023, we should work together. But it was evident that I had a different need than my colleagues in a local law that was being introduced. One that we spent thousands of dollars on, one that we didn't need, one that stands now, and now our homeless shelters don't even know what kind of process they have to go through to make a contract with the county, because that local law and trying to keep asylum seekers out had to happen. So there's a need for minority counsel in a situation like that. You guys all had a council that supported your ideas and your opinions, and I didn't. Aaron Crowley said at the public hearing, this is unnecessary, costly, divisive, 150,000 or more, 2 partisan attorneys. This was after the September and the October budget hearing where Legislator Crowley made a statement that we need to equalize the funding for minority and majority council, making sure that they were paid equally. I chose not to go with that in the budget because I didn't need the salary of my appointed counsel to equal that of majority counsel, because as you know, I do a lot of the work on my own. This local law, to that point of partisan attorneys, it doesn't end to the $150,000 mentioned at the public hearing about the local law that had nothing to do with appropriations. It does not set or approve a dollar figure. Funding is handled through the adopted budget. The partisan attorney framing that kept going on. Majority-minority counsel is not automatically partisan in ethics or in practice. The text limits the role to advisory and legislative functions and prohibits appearing as an attorney of record for the county. So the fact that it's divisive and unnecessary, those are opinions. The governance question is independence and capacity. Larger counties don't do this. Orange, Rockland, none chosen to divide. I think that's presented as a survey, as a fact, but it's not supported for the record. Counties vary widely in structure. I just attended a press conference where we started the first paramedicine service in the state. Other counties don't provide ALS service either. You know, it's other counties, we all structurally do things very differently from one another. We pay differently. Dutchess is 3 times the size of us. Our county executive makes about just as much as that county executive. Go figure. Meetings, noticed, new legislators sworn in. Legislature is seated through December 31st. Taking votes before January 1st is not unusual. It's how we make continuity of government. I could go on and on and on. I could go line by line in that public hearing, and it's what became quite obvious to me with the notion that it was rushed. When I look back and saw the September 2nd document that presented this to us and to the public, and the notion that we're recruiting members of the public, elected officials from outside the legislature to feed them information that's not true, is astounding. You know, we had a great meeting October 23rd in the Budgetary. Legislator Crowley even said, you know, this is kind of nice that we're talking like this. I hope we can continue. And then, you know, suddenly the vote for the chairman came up, and we all became divided again. And we picked our sides, and we're sticking to them. And this one issue, if I had chosen someone else for chair, that vote, I'm confident, would not have been vetoed. There were, you know, deals being made, and I want to govern. I don't want to play politics. It's interesting, you know, Democrats and Republicans. You know, I learned that Republicans sit in a room and say how you can't give the Democrat anything. You know, make sure you don't give her anything. Democrats, or at least I sit in my room with my Democratic colleagues and say, how can we work with the Republicans? How can we get this done for the people that we serve? See, another local law has been presented. So we're gonna spend a lot of time and administrative efforts and more public hearings and more committee time that our clerks have to spend and our attorney has to spend on a new local law where, if you guys wanted to make a comment, you could have amended that local law when it was introduced and taken minority and majority counsel out. Because I had written the local law, very similar to the one Legislator Goldman presented today. A lot of the same words for independent counsel. That was the most important part for me to this law. And all that needed to happen was a meeting, or for you guys to come to a meeting and introduce an amendment, or say strike minority and majority counsel out of that local law. Let's make it a robust, independent counsel. That's all that had to happen. So now we're gonna go through this all again. That's a waste. That's taxpayer dollars, and that's a waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment from the legislator on any topic?
Yeah,
Legislator Dion.
the veto of local law 388. I actually want to thank you, Legislator Montgomery, for explaining that the money is already allocated. So it sounds like now that thankfully this has been vetoed, it looks like a lot of savings next year out of this. Money won't be expended. The dollars won't be expended instead.
You should study a little bit.
I appreciate that. Maybe I'll prepare notes on my laptop next time. I'm going to read something.
Helpful.
Let's just put it this way. There's 2 counties in the state of New York that do this. One being New York City. There is roughly a population of 60 million people. So let's study this. Putnam County has a population of 100,000 people. So that is 600 times, 600x, right? 600 times the population size. Okay, and not even to mention how many counselors they have. This is absolutely a waste. If you believe that having minority and majority counsel is necessary, well, I've got a rib in Brooklyn to tell you, speaking of New York City. Total waste, super glad this was vetoed, though I do agree having our own counsel separate. The executive branch is something that we should certainly explore. Having 2 of them, one for majority and one for a one-person minority, and that's a total waste.
Before I just want to check, see if any other legislator has any comments on any subject. Bill? Or, Do you want to speak or refer to Eric?
I just want to say thank you very much for quickly addressing my resolution today, and I'm thankful for looking to put that on the calendar, and I appreciate that. It was very nice to see it move so quickly, and I'm appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you. Along those lines, if I could just, I haven't spoken yet. Legislator Crowley's referring to local law she put forward today. I referred to the Fiscal Services Committee, has to do with the Veterans Memorial Park. And additionally, there were two local laws that Legislator Russo put forward, the Taxpayer Transparency Act, the Bill of Rights Act, and the Transparency local law. Those I'm going to be referring to the Rules Committee. Along those lines, I'd also like to refer to the Rules Committee a policy that we should have with respect to proclamations. Diane and I, for the last, how long have you been with the county, Diane?
21 years.
I love proclamations, and I've been here just as long as you have, and they're great stuff. Tonight's proclamation was well worth it. All of our proclamations are. But I think we have to have some policy in place with respect to which proclamations, well, with respect to the timing of proclamations. I'm going to be, like I said earlier, a stickler on the 7-day rule with our department heads. That also applies to us. And on top of that, I was shown a very handy policy that I think it was the Sarasota County, Florida has with respect to proclamation protocol. And I'd like the Rules Committee to consider that in the February meeting as well. What we do is we reach out to every organization that has had a proclamation on a monthly meeting the year before to see if they want to have a proclamation again this year. And that's certainly a good thing to do, but I think the onus should be, and that's actually one of the Sarasota policies, that if an organization wants a proclamation on our agenda, they should first reach out to us, whether or not it was on last year or not. May and April, as we all know, or most of us know, we have 6 or 7 or 8 proclamations. Again, they're all great stuff. It's good stuff. It's high school teams winning statewide championships. It's good stuff. All the good stuff that's going on here in Putnam County. But again, I'd like to refer something like that to the Rules Committee as well. And on top of that, I think the Rules Committee is going to be very busy this year, or this month. Bill, you had submitted something just this evening, which I'm also going to refer to the Rules Committee as well, along with a companion piece of legislation. I didn't get a chance to read your legislation, but I won't characterize it, but what I'm going to submit, which might be along the same veins as yours, is a resolution to the local law to the Rules Committee for its consideration with respect to Legislative Council. I think we can all agree we need independent Legislative Council. And there has been some talk about combining that policy with making some other changes within the county charter with respect to other departments. I think, and again, I'm just 1 out of 9, I don't have any more vote than anyone else does, but I think before Dan Birmingham votes on anything else with respect to any type of legal representation in this county, I think we have to get the Legislative Council position back independently to the Legislature. I won't vote, again, just 1 out of 9. I'm not going to vote for any sort of combination or trade-off between one or the other. There's valid positions and policies on both sides, but I think to do both sides of that issue, I should say, to give both of those issues their full weight and their full consideration, they should be considered separately. So I'll be submitting something to the Rules Committee along those lines. And also, Bill, I want your legislation at full consideration as well. I'm going to be referring that to the Rules Committee as well. Did anyone, and I'm done for now. Anyone else? Legislator Bullman? Well, it depends. Go ahead, Bill.
I hope everyone is enjoying this winter that we're having. Troy Phil yesterday said we have 6 more weeks of winter. So
6, 7.
we got to deal with it for 6 weeks. This winter, don't get caught, don't get left out of home. Remember, use licensed and registered tradesmen for your home improvement needs. When there's a lot of snow out there, the people that will take advantage of you. So please use registered licensed tradesmen in Putnam County. If you have any concerns or questions, reach out to the Putnam County Department of Consumer Affairs, 845-808-1617, for a complete listing of Putnam County licensed tradesmen. As was mentioned before, today I did give everyone a proposal, and this proposal will establish an independent counsel for this legislative body. We will all agree that we need an independent counsel. This alternative proposal will give Putnam County the checks and balances that we need, and will separate the powers of each branch of government. This will protect all of our liberties and will not give one branch of government more power than the other branch. I'm asking the chairwoman of the Rules Committee and the chairman of this legislative body to bring this up at the February 11th Rules Committee meeting so we can discuss it with our council and come up with some logical proposal, and hopefully we can pass it on that evening. I hope everyone will enjoy the rest of the winter, and please stay warm.
Thank you, Phil. Any legislator who hasn't spoken yet?
Just really quick.
Before anybody else, legislator Russo hasn't spoken.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Legislator Russo, then
So just a couple of quick things with regard to local law 388. My support was for our current legal counsel who supported us 100% in 2025. I was not here prior when legal counsel was not fair to all legislative members.
we should be careful not to state that as a fact. I know it's an opinion perhaps, but, okay, we just want
In the opinion.
to, okay.
So I was not here for that, but I feel I was represented and everybody else here was by our current legal counsel. So I'm willing to work with this legislative body to come up with a better resolution. But I do think that it should be one council for all of us. We are one for 9 equal members. So I look forward to working with everybody on that. I was honored to be with my fellow legislator Nancy Montgomery at the paratransit public hearing today, or press conference. I'm proud that Putnam County is the first county in New York State to have paratransit, and I know she advocated it for all EMS services for years. I also want to say that we've had a couple of unfortunate incidents with fire and tragedy in this entire county, and everybody needs to be safe, as Legislator Goldman said. Please use certified contractors when you're doing work. Sadly, these fires were devastating for families, and my heart and soul goes out to each and every one of them with prayers. And I want to thank Legislator Birmingham, the chair, for quickly reading and addressing my 2 local laws that I look forward to working with everybody on and getting passed this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Sage and Legislator Montgomery.
Just a quick shout out to all our employees who are plowing the roads in Putnam County, all our local towns. I know my town is phenomenal. I think our town plows maybe 3 or 4 times more miles than the county does. They did a great job. I've lived in Putnam County I've been in my house for over 27 years. It's the first year that my mailbox was knocked down. One quick call to my supervisor down, superintendent of roads. One quick text to him that same day they were out there fixing my mailbox. So a shout out to Mike Stern. He did a fabulous job at it. Thank all of our emergency services and people being out there in the midst of all this terrible storm and having to deal with all that. Guys, kudos to you, honestly, in front of the fire keeping warm.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, I don't want to conflate budget with laws. So just to remind Legislator D'Angelo, cost questions belong in the budget, and that's where the controversy of minority and majority council. We were notified on September 2nd of what those funding mechanisms were for minority and majority council. And we had all of those meetings to address minority majority council. And we had all those meetings leading up to the approval of the local law to take majority and minority council out. And we didn't. And now it sounds like we're gonna go through the whole process again, whereas all we needed to do would be to attend a meeting, stand up and say, I think you should strike this. Because that local law had the language for independent counsel, which we all want. That's already been created. In fact, Legislator Sage will remind everybody that she and I worked on the law together, and there was one clause that was very clear that made legislative counsel completely independent, even outside legislative counsel, completely independent of the county attorney and the county executive. So the funding for minority counsel is in the budget. It can be spent. It can go back to taxpayers. It can't go back to taxpayers right now, the way it is. So whether it's spent or not, I don't know if it will be spent. I don't know if I will spend money on minority counsel, because I do a lot of work and I keep my notes on my computer.
Legislator Reed.
If I may, recognizing Legislator Montgomery and all the people here tonight, I've been heartened by some of the things that we've seen here tonight and the last few weeks. I'm going to reiterate what I think I've said to each one of you. I want to put the divorce lesson 24 behind this legislature. I want to build on things I've already seen from this organization, an inclusive organization that does work together across party lines, and in all aspects of that, I believe we've already shown progress from the divisiveness. And while I recognize many of the things that you said here tonight, I'm going to look to move all of our conversations forwards and work with you to achieve that, to stop looking back, and as much, because looking back won't get anything we want to achieve. And I use we, all 9 of us. So I'm going to continue to try and pursue the mantra that I've been sharing with all of us, is that please let's put the divorce that's happened previously behind us and continue to move on. I believe all of you are owed gratitude and thanks, but I want to thank our chairman here with some of the things that he's done already. I think has set the tone for recognizing that everybody at this table has contributions to make and will represent their people. And I've seen already great steps, and I want to continue to move that going forward. So while I recognize there were problems in the past, I'm going to ask that my co-legislatures say their piece, which has been said, and we look forward to moving on to making progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other legislator? We will be having unusually tonight, an executive session meeting with the legislature and a member of the Sheriff's Department with respect to a law enforcement matter. But before we do that, is there any other comment from the legislator on anything else? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of a law enforcement matter. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I think we'd also like to invite in our legislative clerk, a representative of the Sheriff's Office, and our staff. Thank you. We'll meet back here. And we are going to be coming back in session just to close out the meeting. So this meeting's not over. Just keep going. Gotta come back.
How are you? What do you think of this?
We give them all the favor packet? Yes, a little warm in there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's cold in here.
Aaron's calls.
Oh, sorry, first one. My frozen back.
Holding, so all the leaders.
Not one.
Your face over, so we get it.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There were no decisions made in the executive session. No policy was provided or given. And is there any other business before us? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
I meant that as a